From Quantum Leap revealing that the project is destined to go horribly wrong to the reboot's ratings plummeting faster than you can say wormhole, these are the latest details coming from Quantum Leap. Did you know that the series has finally explained why Ben Song was so hesitant to share what he knows about the future with his teammates? Well, now we know why, because the project is destined to go horribly wrong. The first half season of Quantum Leap also revealed that Ben isn't the only one who's been traveling through time. There's also a mysterious soldier named Richard Martinez, Quantum Leap's mystery leaper. Martinez somehow crossed paths with Ben in the present day and managed to give Ben the information he needed to not only figure out what was happening, but how to stop it as well. Surprisingly, Ben chose not to confide in Addison or the project team with the information, instead choosing to disclose the info to an outsider named Janice Calavici, the daughter of the original project's Al Calavici.
I'm remembering.
Hey, Addison, take him away from this. We don't want him.
That's fantastic. And what else do you remember?
Addison!
Nothing.
After being captured, though, in Quantum Leap Episode 10, Janice reveals what's going on, and the truth might be more shocking than you realize. So what's so shocking about Janice's revelations? After learning that Ben has already crossed paths with Richard Martinez during his adventures, Janice hints that Ben is working against Quantum Leap's future. Janice considers this to be very dangerous, and although she doesn't state it explicitly, she's clearly implying that Martinez's project is the reason Ben chose not to involve any of his friends. According to Quantum Leap's model of time travel, doing so would risk warning them. The present-day project team would keep records, and those records would be available to their future successors.
Not just about Horace, but about you, about what's gonna happen tonight.
Oh yeah? What's gonna happen tonight?
You're gonna die. You get shot. And I don't know who pulls the trigger, but my guess is it's Cole.
If Ben were to involve his friends, he would unknowingly tell his real enemies everything he's trying to do. But there's just one problem. Leaping affects memory, and we've seen Ben struggle to remember the reason he stepped into the Quantum Leap accelerator in the first place. All Ben remembers is that Addison was in danger in the mid-season finale, but it's obvious he has no understanding of the risks. That's why Janice asks Addison to tell Ben to stop talking about the things he remembers, because there's always that ever-present risk that he'll give his enemies the information they require. Did you know that Quantum Leap's time travel is more than just a plot device? Traditionally, Quantum Leap has used time travel as a mere plot device. We saw this with the original series back in the 80s and 90s. Time travel is something that allows travelers like Ben to step into one person's life after another. The Quantum Leap relaunch, however, has taken an entirely different approach, and now the show's model of time travel is vitally important.
The demon did it.
You taught me something today. Sometimes we need to step outside what we believe to see things for what they are.
But if the demon isn't real, then...
So why the change? Ben's enemies are further on in the timeline, and because they have access to the Quantum Leap project, they can see the impact of everything he does. Presumably, Ben's enemies will do anything to ensure their futures are secure, including killing Addison. There have been hints that Ben has unknowingly created a time loop, and that his own actions are creating the very future he's been desperately trying to avoid. Magic and Jen went to see the Martinez of their time, but they were afraid that his curiosity would be piqued, and that he'd start asking questions about the Quantum Leap project. This means that the Quantum Leap timeline is essentially self-sustaining. Ben's desire for Addison is what put her in danger in the first place, and it's hard to see how she'll be saved as we venture further into Season 1.
I know you still look at me like I'm some 20-year-old rookie sometimes, but I am right about this. Please, I need you to just listen to me, just see what I...
Did you know that the original Quantum Leap was one of the most influential TV series of the late 80s and early 90s? True story. The series follows Sam Beckett's time travel adventures spanning decades and chronicled his encounters with a who's who of historical figures. That series pulled the concept of time travel away from using a time machine and distanced the science and story from the Marty McFly trope of saving oneself. Unfortunately, that trope is one that sci-fi audiences absolutely love, and the sequel to the original series has yet to recreate that magic.
You know that, and I know that.
I'm a bitter woman who's lost everything that's dear to me. I did not set that fire.
As a result, when the Quantum Leap reboot returned from a nearly 2-month-long break, the ratings plummeted faster than traveling through a time warp. When the sequel series dropped its pilot episode in July of 2022, it already had a built-in fanbase, and it attracted the highest number of viewers the reboot series had ever seen, with a whopping 3.4 million viewers. Ever since the pilot episode, that number has steadily declined to a low of 2.2 million. Coming back from the break, the number of viewers essentially stayed the same, with a steady 2.3 million viewers. The most recent Quantum Leap episode, titled paging Dr. Song only garnered 1.7 million viewers, and that was on January 9th.
That's an hour and a half from now. Oakland's that way.
We gotta go now.
But it's across the bay. How are we gonna get there?
Working on it.
Bridge is down, ferries and trains aren't running either, but the BART does run under the bay.
Are you crazy? We can't take the BART.
I didn't say anything about the BART.
See, Ben, there's an auxiliary tunnel that runs parallel.
As we know, bad ratings are obviously not good, and that's when network executives start itching to pull the plug if they consider a show to be more expensive than what it's worth. Not surprisingly, because of these weak viewership numbers, many people are asking, what's next for the sci-fi favorite? Despite returning to poor ratings, the original series has a massive fan base, and those fans are likely hoping for more nostalgia, or maybe an appearance by Scott Bakula himself. Bakula, of course, played Dr. Samuel Beckett in the original Quantum Leap from 1989 to 1993. In the original, Sam Beckett is a brilliant scientist, desperately trying to prove that his $43 billion time travel science project is worth the investment, and he decides to test it on himself. When the Doctor uses the project accelerator, he finds himself in 1956 in the body of a test pilot. What comes next are 5 seasons of Dr. Beckett jumping from body to body and solving a problem for the person he jumped into before beginning the process all over again.
Tell him to give you 5 hours.
Listen to me.
Give me 5 hours. 5 hours. If we haven't found Purvis, then I'll turn her over to you.
At the time, sci-fi fans totally gobbled it up. It was like putting a platter of hot dogs in front of Kobayashi. And did you know that the series pioneered a brand new version of time travel? The original Quantum Leap showed the world that the body didn't necessarily have to go if the consciousness could travel and affect change around it. But the reboot's rating slump might also be telling us something else. Could it be that audiences are tired of reboots at this point? If I fancied myself a gambler, I'd bet my last dollar that is the reason for the substantial ratings drop. Fans are getting tired of seeing every major series from back in the day rebooted with subpar storylines, and who can blame them? I certainly can't. It's time for networks to start looking outside of existing IP and take on bold, new, and fresh material.
That you and your mom would fix things, but you never did.
Are you kidding? She doesn't care about me or this family.
That's not true.
She's gonna divorce you, Dad.
Another possible reason for the rating slump could be the absence of the original series star Scott Bakula and Dean Stockwell, who played Dr. Beckett's trusted confidant Al. It could also be storytelling approach that each series takes. The original has only the 2 heroes as returning characters and no chronological storyline. In other words, the majority of the episodes from the original series can be viewed randomly, whereas the reboot series involves a core cast of characters and the series needs to be viewed chronologically. Despite the Quantum Leap reboot's failing ratings, the network has already ordered additional episodes for Season 1 and greenlit Season 2, so clearly executives aren't quite ready to pull the plug just yet, and if anything, they appear to be doubling down. Ladies and gentlemen, those were the latest details coming from Quantum Leap.